And I guess while we're on sort of the government engagement, um, can you tell us how recent conversations with the US Department of Interior have been going and other agencies if they've progressed? What does the pathway to grant or loan funding look like, specifically for West Desert? And just to tie in there, one from Michael Bentley, thank you for asking a question. Can you give us a bit more detail on the um, historic mine waste opportunity at Utah, at Emma and Galena? He's
Yep,
trying to understand how American West will make money from this.
sure. So the first bit, like I said, I mean, as discussions continue, they're confidential. We can't disclose anything
Okay.
or who, who
You can
or when
always
or
ask the question though on a
no. They may
webinar.
be listening.
Yeah.
But look, certainly look, there's a number of opportunities in terms of different streams of funding. So depends which department it is, but there's a critical metals fund, there's process innovation. And so there's a bunch of different streams of funding. So and there's also the mine reclamation, which Michael's actually referring to. So we're looking at all of those, and all of those are applicable to West Desert and to Storm. So some of these do cross over to Canada, and the Canadian system's also got their own versions of these. So we're looking at everything in both jurisdictions. But so the mine waste. So what would happen is, just say we had, I won't come up with a volume, but we would be paid to remove that material and rehabilitate that back to you know
Foot.
the yeah what it was pre-mining. This is just the waste spoils. And if we were paid to remove those, if we could move those to a place that could actually process them, then we have the ability to, whether it's through a small heap leach, being an oxide ore, with a, et cetera, then that is an opportunity for us. And so we get paid to move them off site. So one, this would all be toll treating, so we'd all send it somewhere. We don't know where we go to, but the places that, there's Bingham Canyon there, there's a copper smelter there, there's Trail in BC, which is indium smelters, etc. Or do we set up our own little heap leach on site? Um, you know, Again, refreshing investors. A lot of West Desert is patented land, so it's private land owned by American West Metals, and so that presents permitting opportunities for us where we don't have to go through the federal government, we just have to go through a local government. So permitting pathways to those kind of operations are very much quicker and easier to achieve without federal intervention, etc. So that's what it presents. We don't know all the ins and outs right now. That's something that we're still assessing, obviously.
Okay, brilliant. I'm sure Michael will ask a follow-up question if that wasn't sufficient, but we'll also link in the replay a link to the video that we just got done on the history of West Desert with the consultant geologist Mark in this sort of part. So if people want to have a look at that, we'll link to it later. Um, Moving on, another funding question. This one's from Kieran on Ocean Partners financing. He says, what milestones remain before the Ocean Partners facility, up to 80% of initial capex, can be drawn down? And how confident are you that Storm can be funded without major shareholder dilution?
Yeah, so the Ocean Partner, the current heads of agreements stipulates that the funding can be accessed after FID. But discussions with Ocean Partners suggest that what does that look like? So, and because it is 40, it's, I guess, phrased as 40 million or up to 80% of the 80% or 40 million, whichever is the greatest, of the initial capital. So exploring that further, when does the initial capital come into play? And that's what we're exploring at the moment. So, for example, if we were to order some of the equipment 2 years in advance, does that, access some of those funds? And so because it counts as initial capital, but it's been paid way back now, or in, shortly or whatever. So So that's what we're exploring. So there's absolutely an opportunity to bring some of that capital forward, but nothing has been confirmed at this point. But that would
Hmm.
be absolutely something we're looking at.
Okay. And Vincent's asked, is the 26 storm season progressing or not? If so, when? Is a
Yeah,
bigger camp planned?
exactly. Um, any, the current camp we have now, just to touch on that quickly, is certainly enough to do what we need to do in the next year or two. As part of any development, there would be would move the camp up to where the storm site is, and we'd make that bigger and start the construction of a bigger operation there. So it's up to 60 people at the moment, so it can absolutely cater for anything we need to do.
Hmm.
Planning is absolutely ongoing, the drill planning. If we were to do pre-development activities like geotech drilling and or reclamation, sterilization or whatever drilling, we'd absolutely use that opportunity to do more exploration. Half the effort is getting crews up to there and opening the camp, and so while you've got a drilling crew there, you do exploration as well. That's a no-brainer, and for very incremental costs. So that planning work is ongoing. It'll obviously depend on where we land with the development scenario as to
Hmm.
what that plan looks like. And so, if it's the bigger one, then we'd go out and we'd want to probably add resources quite quickly. There's a lot of inferred resources we could convert to indicated and potential reserve already existing, and we might want to expand in the region there where the smaller opportunity might be more bespoke kind of program and starting to and then bringing some of the higher grade material in because the lower opportunity is a more higher grade mine. And so stockpiling some of the lower grade stuff would probably do work around the Cyclone Deeps, trying to bring some higher grade underground material into
Okay.
that mine plan as well.
Yes. Okay. And so when do you expect to be able to update shareholders on the exploration plans for Storm?
Well, like I said, once the development scenarios drop, then
Okay.
that'll flow directly out into the what the plan looks like.
Okay, great. And I'm conscious of time. There's more questions on Storm, but I'm going to flick to West Desert, and hopefully everybody can hang around for another sort of 5 or 10 minutes. So we've mentioned that there's been a shift from Storm to West Desert, but you mentioned that it's not because West Desert's the new flagship. It's just a matter of seasonality and drilling. First, questions from Michael. It's on the Nevada Deep Discovery. He's asked hole 2601 intersected over 77 meters of visual zinc copper skarn at Nevada Deep. How does it compare to the main zone, and what does it say about the size of the system?
Yeah, great question. And now the other thing I will add is that our storm geological crew is actually working at West Desert. So we
Oh,
use
great.
this with that. Yeah, so that we Apex Geoscience, they've been fantastic for us in the past. So they're down there as well. And so we'll have to split them up, once Storm and West Desert go at the same time or get more people. So that's a good thing. It gives us continuity and we've got the right people doing the job. So yes, it looks very similar to the main deposit, and that's a simple an analogy I can give, where it's more, but it goes in and out. So we hit the porphyry. It looks like it's the skarn that actually sits on the porphyry. It's massive magnetite with sphalerite and clots of chalcopyrite through it as well. So there'll be some copper-rich zones. Um, based on the visuals that we've already published, you can see that there's some zones and the stuff that was in that video, very
Hmm.
high grade looking material, but also sort of more veinlets and not massive intervals of it. So you can probably infer kind of grades from what the maybe what the West Desert main zone looks like. And the thing to consider here is we can't see on the XRF what sort of other metals there are. We can tell if it's zinc, sphalerite, we can tell if it's chalcopyrite or other copper minerals, etc., because it's very clear. But traditionally, this stuff's very high in indium. And I'd have to say that what we've found around West Desert is the lowest risk element is indium.
Oh,
Zinc
interesting.
and copper comes and goes, depends where you are in the system, but there's indium through everything. We even find iron ore, so magnetite iron ore with indium in it. And so I would assume that is probably, I'm guessing that's probably one of the lowest risk. elements. And so, hopefully we get more indium there, but also other things like gallium and germanium and tellurium, which haven't traditionally been looked at. The other thing I will point out is that obviously there's very interesting here, and I won't talk too much to it because the assays always make you a liar, but there is this high sulfidation overprint in hole one that we do not see much at West Desert. And so with this, we're getting a lot of arsenic pyrite, we're getting a lot of molybdenum down in the bottom of the drill hole. And that traditionally in these systems is associated with gold. Again, the niton can't tell us what we've got, but we do have tellurium up to 1,000 grams. We've got bismuth and we've got tungsten. Is what not tellurium, sorry, tungsten up to 1,000 grams, arsenic up to 2,000, and also strong bismuth. So there's all these other elements there, pathfinder elements telling us that we may have a sniff of gold as well. Hopefully some good intervals.
Okay, so when can investors expect the assays for the gold and the rest of the critical minerals that you outlined? And I guess what needs to happen before gallium, tellurium, and the other minerals can be included in an updated MRE?
Yeah, look, I think a lot of the historical drilling didn't assay for most of these metals, and so that's an issue. We'd have to go. There's some of the cores missing from the very, very earliest things. They did the basic base metals, silver and gold kind of thing. So, that's why the gold and the indium, resources at West Desert are inferred. The work we've done just now, hopefully can upgrade a lot of that stuff to indicated for indium and gold. But, again, there's probably more work to be done for the other elements. But, the core, some of the core is still there. We could still do it. We'd have to assess that as it comes. But in terms of assays, like I said, we're at the whim of the assay labs now. So everything's been sent off. So it's wait.
Yeah.
I'd like to
Well,
think what we're seeing from the resampling is starting to come in here. That's sort of 3 to 5 weeks. That's what that's doing. The turnaround times there. So hopefully it's similar.
okay. You're clearly very excited about this latest drill hole, well, the initial visuals on it. But I guess with 10% of the prospective area explored, where are you going to prioritize the exploration going forward across the project?
So the clear opportunity as this slide sort of presents is to the east, chasing these magnetic anomalies. And like we said, we've got a direct correlation with the main and deep zones at West Desert with the magnetics and hole one showing that, there's zinc and copper potentially. Let's wait for assays. Again, disclaimers, we haven't got assays back. We're only using a niton gun. That it's showing that to be the case through here. So that's the obvious opportunity. And then opening to the north up the other porphyry zones. And look, the other gravity has been another good data set that we're using. And there is a lot of correlation between the mags and the gravity, but there's some gravity anomalies that we'd like to test as well, because not all the skarns here are magnetic. There's some silica skarns. And so zinc and chalcopyrite aren't very magnetic. And so you might have, so we can't dismiss everything. So essentially there's a lot to do. There's a lot to achieve, and we need to be efficient and systematically step through these targets as they present. And it'll be based on success as well. So, we won't go and do any infill or drill holes around West Desert. I don't think that's going to add too much let's get the incremental discoveries. Let's make this thing, if the next hole we're going to drill is to the east of hole one along that magnetic trend, stepping out another 400 meters, if we can identify more zinc copper out that way, then that really expands the potential of this system and puts it into that next level, which is what we want to do as
Yeah.
quickly as we can.
Um, Thank you, Dave. That's a great answer. It's a very exciting project. Moving into the corporate section of the questions, there's just two left. Clint has asked, what are your main concerns right now and how are you overcoming them? I guess it's a bit of a broad question. Is there anything that is a potential objection that's holding things up or holding you back in what you're doing?
No, I don't have to say it's what affects everybody. So we've got the funding, we've got the metal in the ground, we've got fantastic support from government, and all the stakeholders at Storm and West Desert, we were just at the Nunavut Mining Symposium. We got to meet the Premier John Main, Tom Ulrich from Aston Bay and myself, and the feedback from local government up there is amazing. It's a very small mining community up there, and everyone's very eager to move things forward. And same with West Desert and the state government there. They've been fantastic. So from a project level, nothing, but there's everything else. We haven't really been impacted that much on fuel costs. A lot of our costs were signed prior to the Iran war, obviously, but there's things outside of our control, like tweets from the Trump administration and things like that, putting the fear into local markets, and this, all we can do is try and be as efficient with the capital as we can, be as technically astute as we can with the projects, and hopefully all the other stuff sort of sorts itself out. So I'd say the biggest risks to what we're doing is things outside of our control. Everything else in our control seems to be going fairly well. So.
Okay, thank you. And this is a question from Matt, actually about 5 different people. They want to know about the share price catalysts. It's always the key question. So, what are the key share price catalysts over the next sort of 6 to 12 months? If you have such conviction in the project, why is the share price remaining stagnant, and what is the company doing about that?
Yeah, so I guess drill further and move things forward through and let the technicals do the talking. And obviously we have a hit, the price came back due to the raise and back to the I guess the offer price, and that's I guess normal. Last time we didn't, we went up, doubled in price, which was really, really nice to see. But look, yeah, like I said, there's things outside our control which we have affected, investor sentiment and things like that. But catalysts, we're drilling obviously at West Desert, so there's a lot more drilling to come. Like I said, well, I think we've got some pretty. The first hole is any indication. We've got a fantastic pipeline of targets to test that's there, and that's very, very exciting. It allows us to do the 2 projects at once, which is another thing. So, give us that news flow where traditionally that Storm has been focused to generally that seasonality, which obviously we can, West Desert provides the opportunity to overcome that. So look, through Storm, we've got what the development options and what's going forward, the exploration plan and what we're doing this year's plan, and then rolling into that. So that will go obviously in the next few months. And then also West Desert, how long does this program go for? First assays due in the next, few weeks, like we talked about. We've got the infill sampling assays to come out. Then we've got the dump, work at West Desert and what opportunity that might provide for us. And there's a lot in that. So we're going to be busy.
Continuing discussions with the US Department of Interior.
Yes.
Lots going on.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, well, I guess
all of the above.
very good. Thank you so much, Dave, and to all investors who stayed on the call this long. We appreciate it. If we didn't get to your question, as always, please feel free to email us. Both of our details are on the bottom of the ASX announcements. But Dave, I guess to wrap up with, did you have any final questions you wanted to leave shareholders with today?
No, just look, it's an exciting time for American West. We haven't had the 2 projects going for quite a few years, and we've got a lot of money in the door now to see us just do that. So, look, I think what we've achieved technically in the last few years has been great, and it's moving the projects forward. So I think there's a lot more to come.
Well, thank you, Dave, and thank you to everyone who joined the webinar.